Dale already gave me the 5-minute warning, so I guess that was quick. I'm an addict. My name is Anthony. It's always an honor and a privilege to be asked to do this for the program of Narcotics Anonymous. I love the program of Narcotics Anonymous. It's given me each and every opportunity that I've ever dreamed, far beyond anything I've ever dreamed of, man. They gave me the topic of grow up or die, and what I noticed is like there was two very important words missing from that, and it's like the last 6 words in the triangle of self-obsession is we must grow up or die. I know for me, man, like I'm an addict that if you give me a bunch of options, I'm going to figure out the most comfortable one, and neither one of them were comfortable, man. But I had to do it if I wanted to stay here, if I wanted to live, and if I didn't want to die, right? 13 years ago, my 4-year-old daughter found me overdosed in my house. Her mother was high in the other room. She had to go somehow wake her up to come get me, to tell her daddy was blue. You know what I mean? A few days ago, that same daughter, who's now 17 years old, told me I'm her hero, that she loves me. You talk about growing up in the program of Narcotics Anonymous and finding a way to navigate through that and to get to a position in your life to where the person you most want to please and prove that you are a good man tells you that they're their hero. It took a long time, man. If you're here and you're new, understand this is an inside journey. All that outside shit's not going to matter too much if your inside's all fucked up. The people introduced me to the program of Narcotics Anonymous. The people in the program of Narcotics Anonymous was able to introduce me to God. The people of the program of Narcotics Anonymous, the program of Narcotics Anonymous, and God was able for me to be able to get introduced to myself. I didn't know who the fuck I was until I found out what I was. And what I found out is like that lifelong question of everybody asking me what the fuck is wrong with you, and me not having an answer. I finally got one in the first step when they told me that I was an addict. I suffer from a disease, which there is no known cure. And I had to accept the fact for the rest of my life, I'm going to sit here with this disease. Now I can either A, suffer with it, or learn to live with it. I no longer suffer from the disease of addiction. I live with the disease of addiction because of the program of Narcotics Anonymous. That was huge for me. I had to accept the fact that for the rest of my life, this thing is never going away. But there is a way to navigate through this and live with the disease and become a man and grow up. But I couldn't do it on my own. The steps are in order for a reason, right? The second step was like, I always thought it had to do with God. When I came in here, I had this big resentment towards God because the shit that I had to go through as a kid, because they talk about how you're going to grow up, and like, I needed examples of what that was. I didn't have them examples growing up. I didn't know you could get clean. I didn't know them things happened. My father was a heroin addict. My mother was an alcoholic to the day they died from this disease. Both of them. The disease took them, though. It don't got to be my story. They don't have to live like that, man. You know, I lived through that with my mother, who she was 4'11", 90 pounds, but she was the most ruthless individual I ever met in my life. And I never thought she loved me until I was in the middle of my 4th step and I realized that she suffered from the same disease that I suffered from. She just didn't have an outlet to understand it, right? I told you I didn't know anything about this shit, man. I was 29 years old when I was introduced to the program of Narcotics Anonymous and realized that there was a way to stay clean. Now, I came into this program, I don't know how you did, but I came in lying. I came from a whole different area, so I came out here with a clean slate. None of you knew who I was. I told you guys I was 24 years old. I told you I didn't have any children. I told you I sold drugs more than I did drugs. The reality was I was 29 years old. I was a deadbeat father of 2. And the only thing I ever sold by weight was copper and aluminum. Like I was a very pitiful individual, man. But until I could live that reality, I was never going to be able to heal. Until I could tell you who I really was, I wasn't going to be able to heal. And healing is a process, man. Once you get to that 4th step, and I thank God that I finally got to be able to get introduced to God through you guys in a positive way instead of the negative way that I always thought of, like he was never there, he was never doing these things. And when I was writing in my 4th step, I just kept seeing how God was always there, man. How when my mother would like cock back and punch me in the face, you know what I mean, as a kid, I never felt the physical pain of it. The emotional abuse inside, that shit hurt like hell. Why don't she love me? What can I do? There was nothing I could do. But the physical pain, God was taking beatings for me a long time ago. And I started seeing God showing up, and they said, like, if you stay around long enough, God will introduce himself to you. Just be present. And they talk about that boomerang booty, right? This is how I get introduced to God, through some boomerang booty, right? I slept with this girl for the third time. I didn't want to sleep with her the first time, but she kept boomeranging back. And I'm sitting there looking at her, and I'm like, you know what? God must want her here, because she keeps... In the back of my mind, clear as day, God said, no, no, no. You did that shit. Stop putting it on me. And I couldn't live with myself continuously being in that human being. See, like they talk about the sixth step around here and how deep and powerful it is for me. Because it's me living through my morals. It's me living through my values. Not what you, I always thought it was like what you guys thought I should be. And when I was able to live through my own morals and live through my own values, that pillow at night stopped screaming in my head, man. I don't know about you, but there's times at night where I would go to bed and this pillow would just tell me how much of a piece of shit I was. But in all reality, it was just me talking to me. I couldn't stand who I was around here, man. And I started to continuously do this work. I just recently, fucking boomerang booty again. I started, for 30 days straight, I put myself on this. Like for 30 days straight, I was going to answer every question in the Living the Program pamphlet every night before I go to bed. If I miss a day, I got to go back to day one. Got some booty last night. I got to go back to day one today. Nobody's perfect around here, right? But I came in here and I continuously started to like try to find out who I was. And that long journey of going back and left that kid, because I talk about how my mother abandoned me for the alcohol, how my father abandoned me for the drugs, right? But what I never really realize is how I abandoned myself. At 12 years old when I started getting high. I was an alcoholic by 12. By 13, I was smoking weed. By 16, I had a needle in my arm. That needle did not leave my arm until I was 29 years old. Long story short. A lot of shit happened in the middle of that, but at the end of my road, and I talk about the end of the road because the end of the road was the most treacherous part of my life, and I thank God that I did finally, I don't really thank God for it, but there was a moment of clarity in the middle of me smoking crack cocaine. I got introduced to crack cocaine at a late age, right? I didn't smoke crack close to as long as I shot dope. I can promise you that. Crack cocaine had me prepared to do things that I thought I would never want to do in my life, man. It's a scary sight. And no matter how bad it's gotten, the program of Narcotics Anonymous has never put me in a position to do the things that crack cocaine has ever made me want to do, man. And I think about that every time I think about getting high. I think about getting high. There was times, man. You know, I sit around here in the program of Narcotics Anonymous, and I realize that, like, you know, I watch a lot of my friends come in and out of here. Like the many people I have buried, like, we're in a whole different lifestyle now, man. It ain't like how it used to be back then. We used to wake up. We don't wake up no more, man. Back in the day, we did dope and shit like that. You fall out, I was like, oh shit, I'll do all your shit up, throw you in the bathtub, bring you back, and it was like a cycle. You know what I mean? They don't come back no more, man. And I lived with this shit, and I needed to understand why I feel the way I feel a lot of times. Because listen, I have a good I think the program of Narcotics Anonymous is based on relationships and unconditional love. And what I mean about relationships in the program, they say, don't get in them, don't get it. You better get into some. To learn how to be into one, man. It's not being healthy enough to get into a relationship. Are you healthy enough to get out without getting high? Can you do that? Because if you can't get out of it without getting high, don't get into one. But if you can, do it, man. If it's going to keep you here, like that's what kept me here for a long time. Fucking kept me here for a long time. I wasn't fucking a lot out there in the streets, man. I was in motion. I needed you to go to sleep with somebody else to bring us something else back. Like, I didn't care about that shit back there, man. But what you're here for now may not be what you're here for that later. The man I was, and they talk about growing up and die, the man I was at 13 years from now to 10 years from now, it's not the same person. Because I'm open to grow. And a lot of the examples that I keep around, I hang out with a lot of 60-year-old men with 20-something years clean because they know how to fucking do it, man. And they know how to be fathers, and they know how to be men. And like, I never had a man genuinely put any interest in my life until I was 29 years old. I had 90 days clean. A man gave me a hug, and he said, I'm proud of you. I don't know about you, but listen to me when I tell you this. I was 29 years old with 90 days clean. That's the first time a man in my whole life ever told me they were proud of me about anything. I bawled my eyes out, man, because I realized that in that moment. And, you know, I didn't do a lot of shit in my life to be proud of, you know what I mean? But when I was a kid, I did, man. Like, I was always a natural athlete. I was good at Little League Baseball. Like, I was a beast, man. But every time I looked up in the stands, there was nobody there for me. You know, in the program of Narcotics Anonymous, like when we first came around here, man, we had these softball leagues, man. And we'd have all these places. We'd go to all around the place, man. And it was just like everybody. And we'd have like 7 tournaments a year. And people would show up for us, man, and we'd play together. And like, it was just an amazing time in my life, man. And the camaraderie of, like, I can remember the day, man. I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning to say, you know, like prior to this, like a week before this, I got a phone call from the hospital, and they said, Anthony, your mother's drank herself to 70 pounds. If she keeps drinking, she's going to die. If she doesn't keep drinking, she's going to die. The withdrawal is going to kill her. What we need you to do is come down here and sign these papers, because we need you to say that we can't give her life-to-life resuscitation, because if we do, we're going to break all the bones in her body. So when they passed on her chest, they were going to break and shatter all her bones. They needed me to sign that paperwork. A week later, I got the phone call that she had finally passed. And that morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, we were going to an NA softball tournament. But there was 100 and something people surrounding me all day, every day. Walked me all the way through that, man. I remember I had 2 years clean. My girlfriend had 2 years clean. The night she got 2 years clean, I bought her 24 white balloons. I bought her 2 black balloons to represent the 24 hours it took her to get 2 years clean. Now, if you guys want to use that at some point, go ahead. It's a pretty dope idea. But like, we went to bed that night. And when we went to bed, like, we got a phone call about 3 o'clock in the morning. They said, Anthony, we found your father with a needle in his arm. He's gone. So in 1 year period, I lost my mother to this disease, my father to this disease, and I've continuously lost friend after friend after friend to this disease, man. And the only way I've continuously stayed here and blossomed is through the program, is through my sponsor and the people that I place around me to teach me how to be a man. Life is always going to be life. It's whether or not I'm going to choose to show up for it or not. I stopped growing the moment I stopped showing up. I only abandoned myself. I'm like, if you're here right now, you're the only one responsible for your recovery. Nobody else is. You are. There were times in my life when I had a sponsor, and like when that shit happened with my father, I drove all the way to Florida to bury my father, man, because I'm doing what a man was supposed to do, even though he was never there for me. I went down there to bury my father, like a man should. I drove 16 hours to Florida with a friend of mine who kept complaining about his girlfriend the whole fucking ride, man. The whole ride. And I said, you know what's the difference between me and you? I said, I got recovery in my life. If my girl leaves tomorrow, I'm going to be okay. Now I'm going to warn you guys. Be careful what the fuck you say around here. I had no idea my girlfriend was leaving tomorrow. And I was not okay. Recovery or not, I had to feel every bit of that shit. And when you're 16 hours away, there's nothing you can do. Complete and utter powerlessness. There's nothing you can do, man. And I started to call that sponsor, like they tell you to do. Call your sponsor, man. Get on the phone. You know what I mean? And that sponsor to this day has never answered that phone call. I didn't know he somehow fired me while I was gone too. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So I said, you know what? Fuck Narcotics Anonymous. I'm going to sponsor myself. And again, be careful what you do around here, because sponsoring yourself is a very dangerous thing. Because at the time of my life, they're calling me like spiritual Anthony. Like they call me Saint Anthony because I was so spiritual and shit in meetings. And I would always find the good in all the bad people around here that they say. Because like when you come, Narcotics Anonymous has some of the most fucked up, hurtful, hateful individuals around here. But they also have some of the greatest, most loving and caring spiritual people you'll ever find. Find your group, man. Because at both times in my life, there's been several different times when I was on both sides of that track. You'll find yourself on that side. You're not going to be like the most grateful human being in the program of Narcotics Anonymous, but can you walk back in here, own up to your shit, and be a man about it? I show up after I do all these fucked up things, right? And I found myself doing them when I sponsored myself, right? Yeah. So I came back to Pittsburgh after all that shit. She was gone. You know what was left there? The 24 fucking balloons that I bought. It was the only thing. She took all the shoes, all the clothes, all the shit I bought. Left the fucking. I had to keep looking at them balloons every day, man. Oh my God. So I found myself with a new home group down at the Rivers Casino. Now, if you want to find a lot of the people with 20 plus years clean, man, I found them. They were down there at the casino. I didn't know where these motherfuckers went. I didn't know where everybody was. I was like, this where the fuck y'all been? We've been looking. We miss y'all. Like, we're struggling out here. And there's a lot of crazy motherfuckers down there, man, but they would always be like, Anthony, you got to get the fuck out of here, man. You got to get out of here. You got to get out of here. And they kept telling me, like, you're here. What the fuck are you telling me what I got to do? And there was this little dude, man, a little crazy motherfucker named KJ. KJ was like, I come to find out, this motherfucker was a pioneer of the program of Narcotics Anonymous, man. Looked like the Penguin, crazy as hell, man. He'd be walking around with his little craps card and shit, like playing craps all day. He's like, just telling me, Anthony, you got to get out of here. Remember, one day he told me, though, man, he's like, listen to me, Anthony. He's like, you could drive a cab, right? 10 years later, you'll wake up, you'll still be clean driving that cab. He said, but if you stay clean, work the steps, 10 years later, when you wake up, you won't drive the cab. You'll own the cab company. What do you want to do? And I got the fuck up out of the casino, man. Wow. And I went home. And at that time, man, I was like running a recovery house and stuff like that. What I can tell you is like several years later, like that recovery house that I once got clean in with one day clean. You know what I mean? I now own, right? I give 20-something men the same opportunity that was given to me when I came into the program of Narcotics Anonymous. Right, and I started to build on that foundation of the things that I learned in my life, and it's all about unconditional love and how I'm going to love my children and the people most important to me in my life, and that's what I do today, man. You know, my life is based on, like when I buried my father, you have to understand this, man. I drove down there, I'm feeling all them feelings of her leaving, my sponsor not answering. I'm at my father's funeral, and I looked around the funeral home, and there was 13 people. A man is known for the legacy he left behind. My dad's legacy was 13 people, man. Everybody was high except for me. That's not going to be my legacy. You know, I've been clean a little bit over 13 years now. If I die today, I'm packing funeral homes. Because I take it out of my time. Like I can speak I've done this all over the country. I've done all this shit. But like the things that you guys never see me do is the shit that's going to make me who I am today. I always thought because I'm 5 foot nothing, 100 and nothing, that I was not a man. I don't measure up. Do you know what I mean? When I found out what a man truly is about your character and your integrity and what you leave with the people that you touch in your life. That's what I primarily try to do on my days. I try to touch as many people as I can because when I die, I want my children to see what I did. I don't want them to see 13 fucking people sitting there nodding their eyes out. I don't ever want my daughter to see that, man. And like I told you today, man, I became my daughter's hero because I built that relationship. Because what I can tell you about growing up around here, you have to realize the things that you do to hurt others. I had to leave her to get better. She didn't understand that. I didn't understand that. I had no idea what, because you have to understand, I abandoned her. I felt. I didn't know I didn't abandon her. I had to go get the help I could so I can introduce my life like that. My daughter knows what a good man is today. I took my daughter shopping. I brought her out here. I took her school shopping. This is the type of woman my daughter is. At 17 years old, man. I'm taking her around. I'm buying her all this shit, and I can't wait to keep buying more. She stopped. She said, I'm just grateful for what I got right now. She stopped me from buying shit. At 17 years old, bitch, we'll buy this whole fucking mall. I don't give every dollar I have. You can have it all. She said, let's stop. I'm good with what I got. She taught me lessons in life. Be open to anybody around here. The only way you're going to grow is to completely be open. And I'm telling you, some of the people that hurt me the most around here has later helped me the most around here. That girl that broke my heart. The reality was, my man was talking about hostages earlier. Here's the thing about that story. I used to tell that story all the time, and I would leave the most important part out. The reality was, I got you, was that when she left, a year prior to that, man, for that whole year, I didn't speak to her when I came home. I didn't have sex with this girl when I came. I didn't want her. I didn't like her. Now the hostage gets away, and I'm mad. You know what I mean? Like, you left on your terms. Fuck out of here. I had a fucking hostage situation going on in my house. You know what I mean? And the hostage gets away, and now I'm upset. You know what I mean? A year later to that date, man, me and that girl that, he broke my heart or held the hostage, we were out to lunch, man. And that's a year after me sponsoring myself, right? And she's looking at me, and she's in the condition I am in spiritually, and says, you need to get a sponsor. I'm like, bitch, fuck, you know what I mean? Fuck you. You know, who are you to tell me what I need to do? But I walked outside of that restaurant. I called the person who has now been my sponsor every day since, and he taught me how to be a man, man. just by his actions. He don't got to say much to me. I watch how you move around here. You know what I mean? Like, watch what people do after the meeting. Watch what they do. Like, don't listen to what the fuck I say, man. I live way better than I can ever talk. I can promise you that, man. It's because I have a kind heart and I try to be kind to anybody. I don't care how it is or what day it is. Listen to me when I tell you this. There's two things in the program of Narcotics Anonymous nobody can ever take from you, man. Your clean date and you being a part of somebody else's clean date. Ever since I've been a part of somebody else's clean date, I've always kept mine. Thank you.